Aqui é meu office. Today is day day 6 March 2022. We will kind of have a conversation, quite simple, quite clear, the way we are always having, you know. And considering that sometimes we have some specific behaviors that annoy everybody, and it's not only me but everybody. It's something outline have criminals on institution, and even more weird if they had the continuity by protection inside the institution. We will not talk about the distortions because you have always to do an entire research and self-defense presented as portfolio. We will use our model, the new tracer and the quadrant tracer. I will check that the quadrant tracer indeed will give me the distortion based on geopolitical failure or distortion. In Brazil, it's presented by Article 74, Integrated Failure, 23 Item 1, Geopolitical Distribution on Institutional Level, first record as security made by areas with registry and events reported as offering registry by payment. This will impact the security for sure, and you can trust into the subsidiary records in Brazil as criminal records on the procedural law as criminal law, and we offer the database Sigma that will have the compiled data and such an approach in the way we are doing. In general, we will have that the abuse at the institutional level by criminals protected and have the continuity of those abuses is driven by the corruption on regular area, which points to a illicit or criminal motivation. And if there are no right to do an abusive procedure, we have a criminal organized in an institutional level. The quadrant tracer, in a very first moment, will have the segment with association, and this cluster is segment as institution, which can be a building with an office as corporate or a building as public with a department. In both cases you have chairs. The second moment, as you can observe, we will have the segment of segments associated with by institutional failure from the top down corruption with least advantage, top down scam named Ponzi scam, origination of resource budget, public corruption in a transnational organized way at the financial system law 7850 article 1, 2 and 3. You can have a solution by Brazil because Brazilian institutional level is committing this kind of systematical crime as systemic organization of criminal activity inside institution, democratic, state, public and corporate linked with from public treasury as national or international. By this, transnational organized crime must be under review of the international law enforcement. This gives ourselves the peers, and the peers traced at the quadrant institution already segmented will bring ourselves to the mandatory need as habeas data looping the failure on institutional level that is doing the registry about crimes committed and organized by them, protecting the result, have privilege as tax immunity for peers, relatives, and groups linked with. oriented program for conviction respecting the colors, as you can observe. The public corruption is the corruption in regular area is always a crime with criminal intent evidenced by the continuity of something that isn't a right despite has a result. Indeed, you have criminal motivation, criminal intent, criminal result, and interest as continuity of crime organized in a systemic way by failure on institution. The new tracer give ourselves the operational research by flow, considering general the investment budget as income and outcome in general will have the origin, the gateway or an interface, which can be my board member or who authorize the expenditure or the use of budget as transference in the interfaces a bank system or even a website. You will check that criminal ways have creative ways to continue this, protected by public corruption. In general, the corruption made from the police department as the first records and implies the association with the costs as account, which is the first records in the same way by similarity. We have the origin, the gateway as interface, and the arrive. Sometimes the origin will have an arrive with a hidden destiny that indeed is using the nepotism as influence to be covered or hidden and take advantage of this gap. This, if caught, allows ourselves to have the origin as something before as premise, which is that chart when I have the situation formed by the corruption since from the origin. For instance, if you have the origin as a chair of the Supreme Court by compromise that assumed in a subsidiary way, you will have all things in a subsidiary way, including your records, and the destiny linked with as root cause as this origin as activity will be exposed by this failored workflow, which indeed is positive one regular area, negative one corruption as workflow at the institutional level can be controlled and the holographic or hidden covered level uncovered from the destiny linked with the result as this workflow associated with the preparation. The method anti-harassment that you do against my research since at least 2014 affects all interest on it, offer a privilege for institutions with noise like FIFA, Olympics, World Health Organization, and others, and request by them the local corruption as public departments and offices and send them to jail. Have a nice